place?
Just waiting for a visit from the credit fairy.
There is no credit fairy.
How else will I get a better credit score?
Look, you keep your credit card balances low and only open a new card if you really need it.
No fairy?
The edition of ETL4 News. Now, credit can be a very confusing subject, so we have an expert here, Steve West, to help us understand this really confusing thing. Steve, how you doing today?
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Steve. So now, with all the news that's covering credit and scoring, and it's really hard to raise your credit score or maintain, how do we do that? What do we have to do?
Well, one easy way to maintain and raise your credit score right now, especially with Christmas just passing, everybody's maxed their credit cards up. It's really simple. What you do is you take all your grocery money and you pay your credit card.
But how do we eat?
Well, some of us need to lose a couple pounds, but
Steve West is making fun of me on my own show.
Seriously, what you then do is that's in some cases, some people are $400 to $600 a month in grocery money, and then what you do is you just use the credit card to buy the groceries.
And it's better that way?
You use that technique on everything on a weekly basis, and you don't pay any interest. You see, because you're paying it off weekly, and so you use your cell phone, your gasoline, all those things, and you pay them off on a weekly basis.
Okay, so, well, that's actually pretty smart, Steve. Way to go. 1 point for Steve. So people, what are people supposed to do in the new year if they've already maxed out their credit cards?
Well, that's certainly a big technique you can use. And when you use it on a weekly basis, you have a 25-day span before you have to pay interest on something. So, people are right now, they're making minimum payments, sometimes just the minimum, $50, which makes you look like you're broke, which means your credit score is going to be lower. So using all cell phone, credit card, on your credit card, your gasoline, your groceries. I use my credit card for every single thing. I don't pay cash for anything. So that's an awesome technique because then you're not paying all the interest. Some people have $5,000 to $10,000 credit cards maxed out. So that would be certainly a great one to do.
So how does the usage of our credit card affect our credit history?
Well, let's say if somebody, let's take it back to that. If somebody has a credit card that's maxed out, okay, already you're having problems, and then when you pay a minimum on your credit card, you're showing the scoring system that you're having some terrible problems. They gave you access to a 1,000 limit, you borrowed 1,000 from them, and you're paying 50, makes you look like you're in incredible problems right now. So when you take a credit card that you're using $1,000 on and you're using your grocery, cell phone, gasoline, all of a sudden you're paying thousands of dollars a month. Your credit score is going to be higher because you're not broke to the scoring system. Okay.
And credit scores are obviously important for car loans, house loans, and everything like that.
90% of all approvals come through scoring.
Okay, so I see these commercials on TV, like freecreditreport.com and all this stuff. How do we know which ones are actual ones that we can get our credit score at?
The actual true only one that you want to use is myfico.com.
Myfico.com?
myfico.com. That's the only one. There's lots of scores out there, but none of them are used. The only one that's really used is that one, and that's in 90% of all approvals.
Okay. So what are some good ways that we can raise our our credit score in these bad times that we're going through right now?
Literally, when you take your credit card and you divide it by 35%, when you keep the balance below 35%, your credit score is going to be at its highest. For instance, in my own credit report, I can max my credit score up 91 points, changing the percentages. And so, in other words, with your grocery, cell phone, gasoline, if you keep your credit card below 35% on a weekly basis, you're always going to have the highest credit score.
Huh. Okay. So besides myfico.com, what other ways can we get our credit score?
You can get that's the only way to get your credit score, to get an accurate credit score. But you can get your credit reports and check those at annualcreditreport.com, and that's free. Anybody can go to the bureaus.
All right.
That's really where you want to go.
That's the best place to go is annualcreditreport.com. So write that as credit reports are pretty important as well. Now, if someone pays off their bad debt, what will it take to raise the credit score after that?
If you pay off bad debt, three things happen. One is your credit score is going to go down. Paying off bad debt is the worst thing you can do to raise your credit score. The second thing is it's going to stay on your credit report for 7 additional years. So if that item was old and fixing to fall off your credit report, you can make it stay on longer. And the third thing is you lost the money. I wouldn't pay off a negative item on a credit report. That doesn't make your credit score go up, so don't do that.
So it's pretty much pointless almost.
It's pointless on unfortunately, good guys finish last when it comes to that.
So you pay off your credit card, you try to get rid of all these bad things, and it actually hurts you.
It hurts you terribly.
Wow.
Terrible thing.
See, I never knew all this stuff. I'm glad Steve's here. All right. So if someone closes a credit card, will their score go up or move around a lot? It will go down.
Your credit score goes down because you're changing percentages on revolving accounts. Your credit score will go down. So don't close credit cards you have to gradually do that. You need some assistance in doing that kind of thing.
All right, so to wrap up this whole conversation, what tips do you offer us going into the new year?
Well, one, don't freak out because of all the advertising you see about it being hopeless, because it's not. Everybody's focusing on the terrible things that's happening. Nobody's focusing on moving on. Media, just like we hear with Oprah Winfrey, the weight thing, and now every channel you turn on is talking about Oprah Winfrey and her weight. The same thing with the media. Everybody's talking about it being terrible times when people still can get mortgages, they still can improve their credit score. Yes, people's credit cards are maxed out, but I just showed you a way to get your credit score up without it costing you any money, and then you can refinance that house once you understand how to change those percentages when you don't have the money. So there's a lot of hope out there. All
right, well, just so we make sure we understand this, go over those credit tips one more time. The how we pay for everything on our credit cards, everything you stated today in terms of like the little quick things we can do.
Anything that you're going to use cash, okay? All you do is put it on your credit card. Then use your credit card to buy those cash purchases. Now, there are some credit card companies like Capital One, for example, that gives you credit card checks. So you literally could use the credit card checks to pay bills that don't take credit cards, like your mortgage or your car loan. And then you just take your car loan and your mortgage money and pay your credit card. So what you're doing is you're, in fact, making the scoring system see lots and lots of activity, which is where credit score comes from. So that's the main thing that people really need to do right now. Other tips are too hard to go through, and they'd have to come in for me to sit down and counsel with them.
Well, real quick, how can we get in touch with you?
I think they have a board up on my name and everything. 291-2630 is my telephone number.
Okay.
And then there's email and my website.
Lawfulsolutions.org.
And I do free consultations, so I counsel people before they even hire me on.
Okay. Well, thanks, Steve. We appreciate it.
Did you learn something?
I did. I actually learned something. You said I would, and you weren't kidding. Now, from taking care of business at home, we move to taking care of business in the community. Ken welcomes the